Historical person scholars are hesitant to make unqualified claims about the historical facts of the Buddha's life. Most of them accept that the Buddha lived, taught, and founded a monastic order during the Mahajanapada era and during the reign of Bimbisara, c. 558 c. 491 BCE, or c. 400 BCE 22, 23, 24, the ruler of the Magadha Empire, and died during the early years of the reign of Ajatashatru, who was the successor of Bimbisara, thus making him a younger contemporary of Mahavira, the Jain Tirthankara. 25-26 While the general sequence of birth, maturity, renunciation, search, awakening and liberation, teaching, death, is widely accepted. 27 There is less consensus on the veracity of many details contained in traditional biographies. 28-29 3 The dates of Gautama's birth and death are uncertain. Most historians in the early 20th century dated his lifetime as c. 563 BCE to 483 BCE, 131, within the Eastern Buddhist tradition of China, Vietnam, Korea and Japan. The traditional date for the death of the Buddha was 949 BCE, 1 according to the Ka-Tan system of time calculation in the Kalachakra tradition. Buddha is believed to have died about 833 BCE, 32. More recently his death is dated later, between 411 and 400 BCE. While at a symposium on this question held in 1988, 33, 34, 35, the majority of those who presented definite opinions gave dates within 20 years either side of 400 BCE for the Buddha's death. 136 Note 8 These alternative chronologies, however, have not been accepted by all historians. 41-42, Note 12. According to the Buddhist tradition, Gautama was born in Lumbini, now in modern-day Nepal, and raised in Kapilavastu, which may have been either in what is present-day Tilorakot, Nepal or Piprawa, India. Note 2 Indeed, according to the Buddhist tradition, following the Nidanakatha, 47, the introductory to the Jataka tales, the stories of the former lives of the Buddha, Gautama was born in Lumbini. 48-49, in the mid-3rd century BCE the Emperor Ashoka determined that Lumbini was Gautama's birthplace and thus installed a pillar there with the inscription, "This is where the Buddha, sage of the Sakyas, Sakyamuni, was born." 50 Based on stone inscriptions, there is also speculation that Lumbe, Kapileshwar village, Odisha, at the east coast of India, was the site of ancient Lumbini. 51, 52, 53, Hartman discusses the hypothesis and states, the inscription has generally been considered spurious. 54, he quotes Sarkar. There can hardly be any doubt that the people responsible for the Kapilesvara inscription copied it from the said facsimile not much earlier than 1928. Kapilavastu was the place where he grew up. 55, Note 13. Warder. The Buddha was born in the Sakya Republic, which was the city-state of Kapilavastu, a very small state just inside the modern state boundary of Nepal against the northern Indian frontier. 6. Walsh. He belonged to the Sakya clan dwelling on the edge of the Himalayas, his actual birthplace being a few kilometers north of the present-day northern Indian border, in Nepal. His father was, in fact, an elected chief of the clan rather than the king he was later made out to be, though his title was Raja, a term which only partly corresponds to our word, king. Some of the states of North India at that time were kingdoms and others republics, and the Sakyan Republic was subject to the powerful king of neighboring Kosala, which lay to the south. 57. The exact location of ancient Kapilavastu is unknown. 55. It may have been either Piprawa in Uttar Pradesh, northern India, 58, 59, 60, or Tilorkot, 61, present-day Nepal. 62, 55, the two cities are located only 24 kilometers, 15 miles, from each other. 62, see also conception and birth. According to Buddhist tradition, he obtained his enlightenment in Bodh Gaya, gave his first sermon in Sarnath, and died in Kushinagar. One of Gautama's usual names was Sakyamuni, or Sakyamuni, sage of the Shakyas. This and the evidence of the early texts suggests that he was born into the Shakya clan, a community that was on the periphery, both geographically and culturally, of the eastern Indian subcontinent in the 5th century BCE. 63. The community, though describable as a small republic, was probably an oligarchy, with his father as the elected chieftain or oligarch. 63. The Shakyas were widely considered to be non-Vedic and, hence impure, in Brahminic texts. Their origins remain speculative and debated. 64. Bronkhorst terms this culture, which grew in the peripheries of Aryavarta without being affected by the flourish of Brahmanism, as Greater Magadha. 65. Apart from the Vedic Brahmins, the Buddha's lifetime coincided with the flourishing of influential Sramana schools of thought like Ajivaka, Karvaka, Jainism, and Ajnana. 66. The Brahmajala Sutta records 62 such schools of thought. In this context, a sramana refers to one who labors, toils or exerts themselves for some higher or religious purpose. It was also the age of influential thinkers like Mahavira, 67, Purana Kassapa, Makali Gosala, Ahita Kesakambalī, Pakuta Kakayana, and Sanjaya Balathapada, as recorded in Samanyaphala Sutta, with whose viewpoints the Buddha must have been acquainted. 68-69, Note 14. Indeed, Sariputra and Moggallana, two of the foremost disciples of the Buddha, were formerly the foremost disciples of Sanjaya Balathapada, the skeptic. 71, and the Pali Canon frequently depicts Buddha engaging in debate with the adherents of rival schools of thought. There is also philological evidence to suggest that the two masters, Alara Kalama and Uddaka Ramapada, were indeed historical figures, and they most probably taught Buddha two different forms of meditative techniques. 72, thus, Buddha was just one of the many Sramana philosophers of that time. 73, in an era where holiness of person was judged by their level of asceticism. 74, Buddha was a reformist within the Sramana movement, rather than a reactionary against Vedic Brahmanism. 75. Historically, The life of the Buddha also coincided with the Achaemenid conquest of the Indus Valley during the rule of Darius I from about 517–516 BCE. 76. This Achaemenid occupation of the areas of Gandhara and Sind, which lasted about 2 centuries, was accompanied by the introduction of Achaemenid religions, Reformed Mazdaism or early Zoroastrianism, to which Buddhism might have in part reacted. 76. In particular, the ideas of the Buddha may have partly consisted of a rejection of the absolutist or perfectionist ideas contained in these Achaemenid religions. 76.